the president had a tough week, right? In addition to the Supreme Court ruling striking down his recess appointment power, Mr. Obama faced another challenge when House Speaker John Boehner threatened a lawsuit over his executive actions.
What we've seen clearly over the last 5 years is an effort to erode the power of the legislative branch. Standing up and fighting for this is in the best long-term interest of the Congress.
So will anything come of this lawsuit? That's the question. And with me, Florida Congressman Ron DeSantis. Congressman, do you support Boehner's lawsuit?
Well, good evening. Look, I think that clearly the president has overstepped his bounds. He's usurped our power. He rewrites laws. I got to tell you, though, I'm skeptical that the courts are somehow going to save us. You know, I remember a couple years ago when people said, oh, don't worry about Obamacare. The Supreme Court will save us from that. And it turned out they didn't do it. John Roberts said it was a tax. And so I think at the end of the day, we need to stand up for our own institutional interests using the powers that we have, the power to deny funding, the power to check the president. And I think courts are probably going to be a little weary of getting involved in refereeing disputes between the political branches. So I appreciate what the Speaker's doing because I think it's motivated by a legitimate distrust of what the president's done. But I'm not betting a lot of money that this is going to be successful at this juncture.
All right. Now, some are speculating if this lawsuit could be the first step towards impeachment. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. You know, if you read the Constitution, we have the authority to impeach all civil officers of the United States. And so if you have corrupt officials at, say, the IRS or some of these other agencies, there's nothing preventing us from going after those individuals who are a step below the president or even a cabinet officer. And I think we need to start looking at that because that removes these corrupt people who are impeding our investigations from power and allows us to have a better opportunity to get to the truth of some of these things.
Well, Congressman, I want to talk a moment about your bill, Faithful Execution of the Law. Now, if this is passed, how will federal law be amended?
Well, basically, the president has been picking and choosing which laws to enforce. They've been doing these stealth delays. So when we passed that in the House a couple of months ago, we said at a minimum, if the president's going to not enforce laws, he needs to come to the Congress, state the reason why, and then that gives us the ability to respond and check him. We can try to deny funding if he's issuing executive orders that we don't think are consistent with the law, or we can pass additional laws to try to counteract that. And as of right now, sometimes we'll figure out from the press that they're not enforcing laws, and that's just not the way the system's supposed to operate.
Not at all, and the American people deserve better than that, that's for sure. I want to move on to the IRS because this is a story that's really been picking up steam, and the missing learner emails. Is it time for a special prosecutor?
Well, I think clearly it's warranted here because we have the appearance of criminal conduct. When you have emails being deleted, the American people are not buying this idea that those just happen to be deleted. The problem, though, that we run into is who would appoint the special prosecutor? Eric Holder. So I don't think Eric Holder is probably going to appoint somebody who's going to do a good job. That's why when you mention, you know, we can go after some of these IRS officials directly using our impeachment powers, and maybe that's a way that we can start rattling some cages over in the executive branch.
Yeah, because you have more faith in that, I guess, way of going about it than that path than trying to rely on Eric Holder in the Justice Department, who has failed quite consistently in the past to make those kind of decisions.
Well, and, too, when you're talking about abusing your duties of high office, those can be violations of criminal law, but they're not always violations of criminal law, especially when you're obstructing congressional investigations. But I think they would be inconsistent with holding a high office. And so going the criminal route, it takes longer. You got to satisfy certain statutes. Going the political route, it's more of a constitutional check on some corrupt officials.
All right, well stated. Congressman DeSantis, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.